Francois.
How's it going?
Good, and you?
Doing very well, thanks.
Here we are again, this time episode 2. I look forward to your wisdoms this time around.
Exciting stuff.
So a quick recap. Last week we spoke about time and energy and how that is the foundation for pretty much everything we do, and how that is connected to money. So thank you for that. I'm still chewing on that. But this week we said we're going to speak about governance and government, and where does that fit into our biblical and our understanding about money. So I think I'm just going to open the floor to you immediately and say, hey, let's talk about this. Why is governance or government or both important when we talk about money?
It's definitely like what we said when we spoke about money. It is really about understanding that it is a foundational principle that needs to be established. And so if we don't understand foundations like a civil engineer would, it means we position ourselves for problems in the future. And as soon as we're starting to build the walls or we start building the roof, and that most of the time is the problem. We kind of get ahead of ourselves. We get into a position where we just want to create, but we don't want to create the things that are necessary. We want to create the things that are beautiful and fun and that have got a kind of a energy on it that makes us want to do it. And that normally is the end destination. And so if we look at a picture of a house, you want the completed picture. You don't want to look at the foundation and what it will take to create a foundation. But it's like a tree. If we plant a tree, we dig a hole, we prepare that hole with the best nutrients that tree will ever need. And then we put the roots of the tree in there, we close it up, we water it, and we just magically forget for some reason that is the most important part. We knew it in the beginning, but now we just focus on the fruit. We just focus on the top part of the tree, even though the source, the supply part of it, which is the roots, is the most important part. We don't tend to do it in the same way. And it's the same with the building. If we don't build on rock, we position ourselves for a very, very shaky future. And so we read in the Bible about building on rock and not on sand, because if the waters come, it erodes away the sand and the building collapses. But if you just look at seismic activity, and so this is in the engineering field of civil engineering. If you build on a sandy kind of base, if the environment you are building on has got a very thick sand layer as just a general earthly foundation, it creates greater seismic activity there than when your house is built on rock or a solid foundation. And so this is a principle that goes through all of science, all of creation. And so it is important to understand that if we don't get a solid foundation, something that is unified, because the difference between rock and sand is just unification. Sand is multiple individual particles doing their own thing, but kind of just being together. Where rock is unified individual sand particles being just meshed into, it's melted. There is no separation anymore. And so that is the difference. We can't have a foundation which is made up of different ideologies, different ideas, which is different from Father's kingdom. That is individualism. That is also where the root word mammon comes from, is individualism. So money tends to come from you doing your own thing. If you just think about it, if you've got money in your wallet, you can just kind of do what you want. If you've got just specific resources, you can only do according to the resources you have. For instance, the ingredients you have in your house, cooking ingredients. And so that becomes the foundation for your food for the night. And so let's bring it all back to government is actually a position of rest. And so the question I need to ask you is, are you responding or are you reacting to situations? Because that will tell me if you have good government or not. Let's take the example of when a kid starts learning to ride a bicycle. We put on training wheels on the sides. That's a form of government, because we know the immaturity of the child is such that it does not have inner balance mastered yet. It knows it is a possibility. That's the end destination. But in the meantime, we need to lay a foundation so that the child does not get hurt. Their belief system of the fact that they can do it does not get corrupted. And so that is hope deferred being deferred, if it makes sense. So it is us governing in a way that does not allow the heart to grow sick. And so that we can make it to the end, that we can reach maturity, that we can see the manifestation of heaven on earth. And so we allow the training wheels to be on there until the child starts to master balance. Then we take the training wheels off, because you can't forever ride with training wheels thinking that you are going to mature. And so governance is laying a foundation for the next level, for the next step, for your next level of governing. And so when the child removes the training wheels, we start helping them, coaching them that they need to trust their inner balance. Inner balance, it just equates to you having laid the foundational principles in such a way that it becomes your behavior. It is no longer something you have to think about. It is now part of your subconscious. So now your subconscious has moved into alignment with Father, perfection, which means now if you respond, you respond from that place. You don't react in fight or flight mode. What happens if you react in fight or flight mode? A predator catches you because you become disorientated. You don't think, your body just does things. And normally when people react, you see what are the underlying beliefs, foundational systems that they have in place. And normally it's not very healthy. And so it is about us creating a foundation that keeps us in alignment with Father, which is best. And so government will always come back to, can you govern from a responding place rather than a reactive position? And so that is the question you need to ask yourself every day. When you trade, before you do a trade, before you spend your money, am I responding from a place of partnership with Father? Because government is partnership. It's understanding how what I will do will influence the future, leave an inheritance. Or am I just reacting and am I just a cog in a wheel, part of the society, not really making a change, bringing a different perspective, bringing a different frequency? Because if we're just going to stay there where we react, we're never going to change the world in the way that we dream. And so government is gaining new perspective all the time, being teachable all the time, because when the foundation is done, the next thing that happens is you are building walls. After that, you are building a roof. Only thereafter, you get to a place where you can decorate and be creative in a way where you now furnish and make the place beautiful. And that's normally the position we get excited for, but it takes time to get there. And if we understand that if we have good governance in place, good foundation, then building the walls is basically just following or tracing the lines that are already there, which is the foundation. You don't build the walls next to the foundation or follow a different route. It is laying a foundation quickens, it speeds up your process to reach your end goal. Not building a good foundation means that you always have to maintain your walls because it's always cracking. The walls are always falling over because you built on sand. Individualistic ideas which do not unify into perfection.
Okay, I want to jump in there. If I'm hearing you correctly, okay, so the foundation is important. The roots of the tree is the source. So our starting point is extremely important. And when you talk about governance, governance is not something that is just the overall picture. I'm standing back and governing the tree, or I'm standing back and I'm governing the house being built. Governance is every layer, every next step. You have to continue to govern on what the foundation is and what the foundation was. And then you use the word belief system as well. And I also want to, I almost want to say that our belief systems in terms of money and in terms of actually everything is our foundation. And we have been building and governing that belief system for however many years we are old. Okay, but now I get to a point where I realize, but we spoke about time and energy last time. My belief system about time and energy is not necessarily a good foundation. So now I have to change that foundation. I need to revisit that belief system. I need to get back to the true north. I need to get back to that place of intimacy. And now I'm starting kind of a brand new foundation. And how do we manage because that is normally a process. So now I'm still having an old foundation, but there isn't a new house yet. So how do we manage? Does my question make sense? Is how do we manage between the old and the new foundation to continue to govern this new foundation in a proper way and kind of step away and detach from the old one? Does it make sense?
So most of us have got a pretty good idea what Father's calling us to do. Even if you feel like you don't, you still do. Nobody follows the dreams they have in their heart by chance. You take constructive steps towards it. So my point is that most of us, I'm just going to say all of us, parts of our foundation is in alignment with Father. So it doesn't mean you have to now completely have to uproot the old tree or break up the old foundation. It is about going with Father and asking him, where do I need to bring unification? Because if faith is the substance of that which is hoped for, and so faith, if you just go look at the root words, is the conviction you have, which is the foundation, substance of what is expected, hoped for. And so if you are convicted about something, you can create a foundation which mimics what you are convicted about. If you see a plan, you're convicted about what that plan is. You're not, there's Father convinced you, it's final. Then all you do is you unify, you bring a substance, which is, we use cement to create concrete. And so we put cement in between all the individualistic particles, the gravel, and that unifies that sand into becoming one thing. And so all of creation is made up of individual principles, but they decide to function together. Like time and energy, they partner together to create substance. And so that is what we need to. If we just go and say, Father, I need the substance which changes my belief system in a way that it becomes unified, then you can start aligning everything in accordance with God, because he says he uses everything for your good. And so you've matured already in areas, you've built things already. It is now just about sorting out your foundation, sorting out about the building blocks where you are currently for your level of maturity, because it will be different. The child that is on training wheels has got a different level of government that pertains to where they are versus the child that's already mountain biking down a hill. It's different. And different governmental structures, principles allow you to stay safe, to not let the heart grow sick. And so what do humans do to create belief systems? How does the belief system construct work? And so just bringing it back to foundational principles, distilling it down to, every time your body, your soul, your mind, your body chemistry gets rewarded for doing something, it builds a belief system. And the more times you repeat that, being consistent, which is a key word, you layer foundation upon foundation, which creates your belief system, which becomes either your responsive or reactive ways. And so to change your belief system, you need to also change your reward system. Because people that smoke don't start smoking because smoking is nice. Those who have smoked will know it tastes horrible and it makes your body feel horrible. But being consistent even in that creates a belief system that it's fun. And after a while, people are addicted to doing it. And most of the time, it's just the behavior. It's not so much the nicotine. And so what do we need to do for foundation? Foundation is consistency. Like what we said, unification is consistency, is unified. It is doing it daily. We know all that it takes about 42 days to build a new behavior or belief system. But it's really about aligning what you want as a reward. So you need to ask that question. And what do you really believe? And so you need to ask that question, because we've got different beliefs that are hidden because we are never challenged to really get to that point. And so if you put somebody in a very difficult position, a pressure cooker situation, you start seeing all their highest beliefs. They might confess with their mouth something, but at the end of the day, they actually believe something else. And it's like saying, I will die for my wife, my husband. No, and then when the moment comes, they jump behind their husband or wife and use them as a shield to protect them against whatever danger there is. And that is reactive. And so it is about going in daily. That's why daily bread, daily manna is such an important key. That's why what the Israelites did way back then were foundational principles Father was teaching them. When Jesus came, he did not nullify that. He said he came to fulfill all the laws, all the letters of the law. And so it is about understanding that Jesus is the gateway into government. And that when we are in partnership with Father, we need to govern according to his principles and ways, which means we need to check our beliefs, because everything, it's like they say, every action has got an ancestor that was a thought. Because no action comes from not thinking or even subconsciously thinking. And so that is your beliefs. And so it is realigning your thought processes. It's realigning your actions then thereafter until they become responsive and not reactive. Because then it means you are in rest, then it means you are governing well.
Wow. I have so many thoughts and I want to say so many things, but I think, I'm going to start with going back to your example about the toddler with the training wheels and a teenager mountain biking. You know, it might be that the teenager mountain biking learned some habits that might not be 100% for what he's doing right now. That doesn't mean he needs to stop mountain biking. It just means he needs to retrain his mind in that regard and unlearn the old ways and relearn the new ways. And that is where the consistency coming in. Doesn't mean now we have to throw away everything. It's just relearning. And I think that is where it comes in, is Christ going to make us new and to renew us and to give us the ability to make those foundations and have those new foundations and have a new restored belief system. But just because the old belief system wasn't 100% doesn't mean, throw out the whole house. And I think that's just what I'm hearing. But learning how to govern, and once again, it comes back into the now. Where are we now, and where we are? Anyway, Francois, thank you. Learning to govern and why that is important. Thank you for that. I think we're going to wrap this one up. Wow. I hope that everybody else is walking away with a lot of nuggets to just sit and think about. So thank you for today once again. Next time we're going to speak about that word that you've used a few times, the scroll. What is that? Where do we find it in the Bible? Why is it important? What is the difference between a scroll and our calling? So let's connect soon and chat about that. But for today, thanks. And for everybody else, if you want to, like last time, if you want to connect, our social media details are in the description. So please feel free to connect. We would love to hear from you. Okay, bye, Francois. Talk soon.
Bye.